To suffer in silence means dealing with deep pain and struggle alone.
Here at Drop an Anchor, we want to create a safe space to break the silence. Welcome to the RECtable.
Hey fam, we're back
We are back
and we want to welcome you to Drop an Anchor podcast.
at the RECtable.
This is our segment called the RECtable. The purpose of this segment is to allow people to come in and join us so that they can share their experiences with not only us, but you. And we can drop some anchors and heal some trauma. Because you know this is all about what? Personal growth and development. And so that's what we're here to do today.
All right, before we get started, please make sure that you like, subscribe, share, turn on those post notifications because we don't want you to miss an episode, whether we're in the studio, at the RECtable, or in the streets. We want you to be with us every step of the way. And also, if you need any assistance with photography, aerial footage, podcasting, please make sure that you reach out to Destiny Cloud Sessions. I'll make sure to drop all the information below.
Perfect. Okay, so let's get into
Let's
it.
get into it.
Okay,
What was I talking about?
so you were talking about your mom.
Oh shit.
And so if you want to continue that conversation.
Where was I at with that though?
That she relapsed, nobody was there.
Right.
Oh. Okay. I had a drink. Hold on. Okay.
We thank you for being this brave, Cheyenne.
Thank you. Where do I start? Do I just
Wherever you want to start.
think where I left off was my mom had relapsed again and had started living with her again. And so she was gone days at a time. And I was just in high school. I was, I think, a freshman at the time. So imagine being 14 years old, having no parental vision whatsoever, going out partying, doing drugs with friends and stuff. And a lot of stuff happens. I don't want to get too deep into that, but you can just imagine as a woman in society.
Right.
And I had tried to turn to people about what had happened to me during that time, and no one believed me, understood me. No one could guide me at that time, so I definitely kept it in, and I definitely suffered in silence. My dad lived in Vegas, and I didn't realize at the time he was somebody I can talk to, because now we can talk about anything. But yeah, so I definitely suffered. I also was suicidal at the time too. Any pills I can find around the house, I had a huge bottle concoction of pills. I was just waiting for the one moment to set me off that I would just, because I didn't know how else to. And I was definitely saved by a relationship I got into, which was great for the time being, of course. We're not a thing anymore, but
It's what you needed at that time.
it is definitely what
That's
I needed
important.
at that time, and let me get to where I am today. And at that time, I started self-searching. I started researching, trying to do better, learn better, because nobody around me in my vicinity knew anything.
Okay.
Everybody was very avoidant of any kind of conflict, any kind of feelings. No one could help me, so I just researched so much stuff and have been doing that for the past 13 years, 14 years, and it just continued and trying to better myself and not get back to that place. I've thought about it throughout time, of course, but haven't gotten that far deep into it. And then being there with my dad and learning his story, and although we can't 100% relate, there's some things that we can kind of relate to.
Can we talk about some of the things that you do today when you are, I mean, because you have definitely grown, but you say that sometimes those thoughts come back. What are the things that you do today to help you get through that?
When I've had those thoughts again, I've realized I'm surrounded by either a person or people that are kind of making me feel that way, the way they are, the way they deal with things, and how they make me feel. And I've learned to kind of deter from them, because when you're around somebody that's not good for you,
Right.
it makes you feel bad.
Yes.
And just absorbing their negativity onto you, and you're already in kind of a vulnerable place trying to work on yourself, it makes it hard. And like all the work that you've tried to do is nothing. So I've learned to detach myself. And the people that have done that to me and made me feel that way, I was in relationships with. So eventually I was like, okay, I gotta get away from you and be around people that actually make me feel good.
Yes.
And can understand me and take what I say and not make me feel worse. I'm not saying the people I was with made me feel worse. It's just how they were didn't make me feel comfortable with letting them into who I really am, what I've been through, and to try to get their perspective to help me grow as a person. I didn't feel comfortable in that situation. So I left that. And sorry, what was the question?
No.
Yeah, I mean, you've answered it honestly,
Perfectly.
like perfectly, because it sounds like you're saying you need to know your circle.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we just recently talked about toxic people.
Absolutely.
And having the awareness to know who's good for you, who's not good for you. And she even did a whole speech about as she grew, you know, how people, that backlash and all of that. So it's very, very important that you choose the people wisely and you step into your awareness of it, because they will drag you right back down, you know, to
Misery
where you
loves
were
company.
And you won't even realize you're there, you know. So I want to congratulate you on doing that personal work and choosing yourself and choosing not to just give in and be a part of the toxic situation that was dealt to you at 14, 15 years old.
Right.
You know, that's huge.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So we just want to, you know, support you here and allow you to express anything that you haven't felt like you've had the ability to express, because you haven't had anybody that could hear your story without judgment. You know, because sometimes all we need to do is give our story a voice. And when we give it a voice, it speaks for itself. You know, but we've been holding that in for so long. You know, so when we give it a voice, it sings sometimes. And we're like, whoa, wait a minute. You're saying a lot. You know, I didn't even remember all of this, but it's important. It's a part of your healing. It's a part of your growth. It's a part of your development. I believe that your father, your relationship is going to be strengthened just by you having these conversations, because I also feel like there's some things he has never heard you say, and there's some things you have never heard him say. Even though you talked about it, there's still trepidation. And you're still kind of walking on eggshells because you don't know exactly how much to reveal.
Yeah, to say.
And so the more you reveal, the better it will be. The more forgiveness that happens, the more strength that you gain. Because every one of us has a story. We've been through what we've been through, not sometimes for ourselves, but to be able to share it and help somebody else. So when you're here, and I know you have something to say, but when you're here in this moment, remember that the things that have happened, and you've already gone through them. You're here today because you were strong enough to endure them. So we don't want to keep living in that moment. We want to give it a voice because we want to drop that anchor and let that go.
Right.
And so when we speak about it to other people, we want to be able to share with them so that we can empower them and help them because they're going through it in the moment, because maybe they're not strong enough to get through it. Right?
Right.
So you go ahead.
Well, one of the things I just wanted to ask John about, because he mentioned that there was 2 suicide attempts,
Okay.
and you talked about one. So the second one that came after?
It was earlier this. Actually, it was
Don't say this month, brother.
recently. Back in June. And one of the side effects of being depressed and pretty much not giving a fuck, I let my health lapse and became a diabetic and really might not take care of myself. And it costed me a piece of me. I had an amputation on one of my right foot. They took my little pinky toe.
You mean, when you said a piece of you, you meant a piece of you.
Yeah, and but when I went to the hospital for that, I don't know what happened, but I felt I was being treated rudely by one of the nurses,
Okay.
and it was at the VA hospital, and so I got into it with this nurse, and the more she was talking to me, the more she was agitating me, and I started getting worked up, started hyperventilating, and she got me to a point where I wanted to end it. And I actually stopped at one point and told her in a calm voice that you might want to restrain me right now. And her reaction was, why?
Wow.
Which set me through the roof. I mean, you have a disabled veteran on your bed, losing his frickin' mind, and you're showing no empathy, no understanding whatsoever to the situation that's happening in front of you. And all you've been doing was just making it worse. And armed security showed up, and I had to be tied down to the gurney. Because if I would have had access to anything, I would have ended it right then and there.
So how did you get over that? How did you pass that?
Finally, some of my people showed up, and as soon as I saw them, I immediately calmed down to a point where I realized something was wrong. And I told him, I need to be locked away for a while. And he looked at me, he goes, you gotta do what you gotta do, bro. And I checked myself into a locked mental ward for 2 weeks, voluntarily.
He was going through the art process.
Yes.
And that's when I did a lot of talking with a lot of people. And that's when I realized that I wasn't alone.
Are you familiar with the art process?
No.
Let's talk about it.
So, you know, the process that we deal with in terms of dealing with trauma and the release and dropping the anchors is art, awaken, restore, to transform. So you voluntarily started going through that. The moment you said, I need help, was the moment you began the process.
Yeah, the awakening moment.
The awakening moment, because I was going to ask you, because I remember getting the phone call. But when I got the phone call, you were already in the hospital.
Yeah.
And so we told you, let's have a call, right? I don't want to tell your story for you, but I do remember that moment where I got that call, like, John is in the hospital and he tried to kill the people. You know what I mean? He was like, you know, we always try to kind of lighten the load a little bit, but he is in a position where he's checked into a mental hospital, and okay, now it's time to pony up. What is going on? Because he does not need to be alone. We can't get to Vegas, but we can figure it out. So,
I remember that.
right? So I remember we're all figuring it out, like, let's get to him, and we did that Zoom call, right?
Yep.
And
You learned how to do a Zoom call?
oh, it was challenging,
Yes.
I'm
to say the least. But we got him on the Zoom call, and all of us, his adoptive family, were there. Mom is there.
Yep.
All of us are there. Mark's there. Corey's. Everybody's there. And we're like, what is happening? So that is the first time that I've ever witnessed my brother ask for help. Uh-oh.
It's coming. You need tissue.
And so, if you don't mind speaking a little bit about that moment when you asked for help and you actually received it.
Yeah, I checked myself in. At the moment I realized I needed help is when I looked at that nurse and told her, you might want to restrain me, because I was on the verge of losing my shit, and she pushed that button and I lost my shit.
Trigger.
Mm-hmm. Did you watch the episode? Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when that's when I knew I needed help. And then being in a locked ward and talking to all those people, I mean, I reached out to you, and we did the Zoom call. First day I was out. First day I was able to have access to my phone. We did that Zoom call, which I still don't understand how he did that. But
What did it do for you?
it like a weight was lifted off my shoulder.
Do you remember some of the things that we told you?
No, not really.
Okay.
But I could remember feeling the sense of finally somebody's listening. And I'm thinking, why did I wait so long to let them know? But that's part of what the suffering in silence was.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's kind of why we wanted to have this conversation, because there are so many people out there that are still silent, and they need to know that, like you felt, why did I wait so long? These people are here for me, they love me, and I have a support system, and it helps you a lot, right?
Yes, it does. If you do have that support system, you need to utilize it. Once you find it, hold on to it. Don't let it go. And use it. And the people out there, if you see something wrong or you see the symptoms, don't stand on the sidelines not doing anything about it. Because if you don't do anything about it, you're not really doing anything about it.
Right. And then
And then-
your outcome could become tragic.
Yes. So if you see somebody suffering, reach out to them. Let them know that they're not alone.
And don't assume that they know that.
Yeah.
Because just because there can be 20 people in a room and a person can feel like they're there all by themselves. So don't assume. If you see somebody's behavior changing, if you see toxic reactions, if you see things like that, just speak up, find out. And even if you're not that person that's close to them, find somebody that is close to them so they can, get the support that they need, because it's obvious something is happening. People's behavior patterns don't just change overnight. There's always something that drives that. So you never know what a person is dealing with. Stop judging. Try to, even if you can't put yourself in their shoes, just step back and say, hey, something must be happening, because the person I know doesn't behave that way. It's so important these days. We have so many negative influences, so much negativity that's just put in front of us, our children. Things are happening that we don't see. So don't assume that nothing is wrong. Be that person that will step up. If you know that it's something that you can't handle, pass it on to somebody else.
So one of the things that I would like to ask both you, John, and Cheyenne, if you don't mind sharing, because there are some people out there that may not realize, they may have repressed those memories so much that they don't understand why some of the things that are going on in their life right now. What are some of the symptoms to look out for that you guys have experienced? I know you've talked about drinking and of course, the suicide attempts, but what are some of the symptoms that people should look for that's like, if I'm feeling this way, or if I have these symptoms, I may need my support system?
Do you want me to start? You want to start?
Self-hurting,
Okay.
cutting yourself, or doing stupid shit that knowing that the outcome's gonna hurt, and you get physically hurt.
This sounds like cries for attention. Cries. Okay.
What about you, Shy?
Can you repeat the question?
What are some of the symptoms that those that may be suffering in silence, that have repressed memories and don't even realize, what are the symptoms that they should be looking for that means they need support, they need help, they want to talk to somebody?
It might be difficult for people that are repressing memories from trauma, because you don't necessarily choose when they come out.
Right.
Things you go through can trigger that. But people that are constantly silent when triggering things are going on, and that can be for so many things, but in a general sense, if something triggering is happening on like a show, a movie, or something like that, if they get quiet to where you notice, that is definitely a symptom. Because like we've talked about, we don't always just talk about it.
Most
We
people
don't always
don't.
feel safe talking about it.
Did you have any like withdrawals from like work or school or lack of energy, like any other type of?
Definitely, work gets affected
Mm-hmm.
to where you start missing days. You're tardy. Your work habits start to go down.
Can't sleep.
Okay.
Sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Excessive drug use.
Okay.
Yeah.
Drinking.
Mm-hmm.
Excessive drinking. All of a sudden,
You're trying to find that crutch.
So you're trying to numb
Numb
everything that's happening around you. You know, what I dislike about the way people handle situations is instead of asking a person, are they okay? People talk negatively about them.
Mm-hmm.
So now you want to gossip about them. Did you see what this person is doing, or they did this, or they did that? Instead of realizing that's a sign and it's a cry for help, something is happening.
Right.
You know, so don't talk about it. Go, and even if you can't do it in a public forum, check on your friends, check on your family.
Even the strong friends need you to check
You
on
know?
them sometimes.
Especially
the strong
friends.
friends, right?
the ones that are laughing the most and joking the most need
They
the
are
most
the.
help.
I agree with you. I agree.
That's that faking emotions.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so you're smiling on the outside, but you are breaking on the inside. And then that moment that you are alone is so critical. So I've heard so many stories about, suicide, depression, when, oh, well, we were just having a really good time. What happened?
Right.
So that was like the last hurrah. And that was that moment that enemy came in and said, today is the day.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't want to get there. We want to be aware of our friends, our family, our loved ones, people who are experiencing this, because this is such a sensitive subject and it goes so much deeper than we could ever understand. John, I know you had no idea that those things were going to come up. I want to commend you for talking about them because, brother, I'm sorry, I did not know that at all. So I love you. I support you. This is just the beginning. Niece, same thing. And by the way, I was not going to tell you guys that. But I support you. And I'm just looking forward to the next level and your growth. And thank you so much for being so transparent. And
Is there anything else that you guys would like to share that you may just need to release, or that you may feel could help someone else?
Yes.
okay, we would love to hear it.
100%.
Give it to
I
us.
just want to say, just because somebody is family doesn't mean they understand you, doesn't mean they'll be there for you. You need to find the people, whether it's blood or not, that are there for you. Because majority of the people that have been there for me are not blood.
Okay, so find your tribe.
Exactly.
Find your
Yep.
tribe.
Aside from my dad, because I can tell him anything now that I know I can tell him everything.
Right.
But the people I've grown up with, like, I love my family, don't get me wrong. My blood family, definitely, I love them. But they have no idea about trauma and self-development and things like that. So they had no way to help me. And doesn't mean that family's everything.
Right.
Yeah.
That's for sure. And I don't even talk to my mother anymore. So
Well,
family and blood is not everything.
Right. Well, we pray that throughout the process of you developing, you will find the space to welcome her back in. That doesn't mean that you have to accept what she's done. But for your own sanity, you can forgive her because she is your mother. And if she's exhibiting bad behavior, that doesn't belong to you. That belongs to her. But however, there's a part of you that needs to release, that, and you
Watch
have
the
to
episode
forgive
on
her.
forgiveness.
Exactly. And you have to forgive her so that you can move forward and continue on your path and your journey.
Yeah.
And whatever she does in her life, you
Yeah.
won't carry that because it doesn't belong to you.
One of the things that we highlighted in the episode of forgiveness is it's not about them.
Right.
It's about you. It's
Yeah.
about you letting go. You're not letting them off the hook,
You're just
but you're
letting go.
releasing that off of your shoulders so you don't have to carry that weight anymore.
Because it's heavy.
And what about you?
I'll make it short and simple. Stop talking about it. Be about it.
Okay.
Hey,
And I also want to say I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Because I know how hard it was for you to reach out.
And I'm willing to talk about it at any time. So if people want to reach out to me, they can.
that's a
Okay.
wonderful thing. We appreciate that. We'll make sure to drop the information because there may be somebody that heard your story and
Right.
is right there.
And needs to
Needs to, yeah.
hear a word from you or you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. We love you. A couple of final thoughts. I did find something, a statement about men who suffer in silence, because I feel like this is a big deal because men, you have machismo. And so,
Masculinity.
yes, and so that's something. So I'm just going to read a statement that I did find, and it says, society may discourage men from expressing emotions or seeking help, reinforcing the idea that they should handle challenges independently. So we have that's basically the fear of stigma and judgment. So you fear being perceived as weak or less masculine if you openly discuss your struggles. We know now that that's false.
And people may suffer in silence for a variety of reasons, as indicated by the search results. For example, some people might feel uncomfortable expressing their issues or emotions with others, or they may fear being stigmatized or judged.
And so I think that's the whole point of it. No judgment. We're not going to stigmatize you. This is not about that. It's so much greater than that. This is about healing. This is about you feeling whole. This is about you being able to release the things that sometimes you weren't even in control of.
Right.
We don't want you to carry that weight at all. So again, thank you so much for coming, for telling your story, for being transparent, for sharing with us.
It's time for you guys to drop an anchor.
Yes, please.
So we have a couple little anchors we're getting ready to drop for you.
Can I get the green one?
Okay, you can get whatever. Do you want yellow is not your color? You don't care? Okay, so matter of fact,
We need to drop one too.
I need to anchor myself. So, thank you so much for today and being our guest. And we are now going to drop
an
the anchor. See you next time.